folks. Glad you're here. Ricardo sent me a message and he's going to be unable to join this morning. So if you're coming just to see our friend Ricardo, you're stuck with me. Welcome in, welcome in. We'll wait just a few minutes, let everyone get settled, and then we'll kick it off. In the meantime, as always, feel free to use the chat if you have any questions, and I'll do my best to field those in Ricardo's absence today. Good morning, good morning. We'll get started in just a minute. Thank you all for joining. Hope you have a warm cup of coffee wherever you are. I know it's 11 a.m. Eastern time, but I'm still working on my first cup of coffee. Okay, guys, welcome in. My name is Stacy Mildenberger. I normally host this call with Ricardo Wilkins. He is unable to join us this morning, so I'm here representing CUTE for Teams with you. That's Champions Using Teams Effectively. That's what the CUTE stands for. Karen, coffee in a Disney cup. That's a girl after my own heart. Yes, excellent. Thank you all for joining this morning. As mentioned, in Ricardo's absence, our agenda is going to be really loose today. So if you have any questions that you'd like to discuss or any modern work in areas that perhaps I could help with or some of our peers in our call could help with, by all means, throw those into the chat. We touch on a lot of different topics here, but tend to focus on Microsoft Teams as our main workload. Of course, as your customer success manager, I talk about lots of other Microsoft apps. One that I've heard of, or one that I've talked about a lot more recently, seems to be Bookings. So I'm curious if there's any use cases for Bookings out in the audience. I'd also throw out there Viva. Viva is another big topic around Microsoft these days. And so if you have any questions in these areas, let me know. One thing I did go ahead and put in the chat that I hope you guys have all bookmarked is the Teams Roadmap Weekly Update deck. This deck is maintained by a peer of mine, and I'll go ahead and share my screen with it open. And hopefully you are already well aware of this roadmap deck. But this deck goes message center post by message center post, giving information about each of the features that's being highlighted, where the feature that's being discussed is Teams related. So this deck has 52 pages at the moment, because as you know, if you've been around Microsoft Teams for any time length at all, you know that there are features being released almost constantly, even to the government cloud. Our tool set in Microsoft Teams has come quite a long way and continues to do what it can to get the equivalent feature set of what is available to our commercial customers. And you can track all of those releases in the Message Center, but if you are not an admin user with access to the Message Center, this deck is going to be a great resource for you, because you'll be able to check out all of those features and details about their updates when those updates are provided in the Message Center. Another slide I'd like to point out here that's got some great information is our communities. We have several communities in addition to the CUTE for Teams that are meeting regularly and have some industry focus. So Health and Human Services has a community call, and so does Public Safety and Justice have a community call. I actually see a little bit of an issue with this link. So I may actually, that link may be accurate, but if for some reason I double check later and it's not, I'll add a note so that it's updated next week in this roadmap. These updates reflect the release timeline and the information around what exactly the feature is. So this particular one, and I've just scrolled to it. I've not done any pre-reading of this, so forgive me, but it's the Room Remote feature for desktop. So this is some information about that particular piece of equipment and its release date and when the rollout is estimated to begin. And you can see it's estimated to complete mid-March. So if this happens to be a feature that you're tracking, you can expect to see it show up in your tenant around that time frame. Okay, so let me take a look at the chat here. Oh, Tim, you made a post. We have a lot of people who want bookings. Yes, there are some security concerns in your agency. Good. Working with Microsoft, I'm sure your team can assist you to address whatever those security concerns may be and to help mitigate those so that you can continue with your bookings rollout potentially.
Yeah, Stacy, if I could just throw, we turned it off. Number one, it has no audit capability. So, you know, there's no way for us to track back on anything that happened with bookings. The other is from a security, it's more a PII. There was no way to stop people. We could tell people not to expose some of their, like, you know, their government information, their email address and things like that. But we can't, there's no way to turn that off. So people could, in the way they set up bookings, could expose a lot of internal information. So that's what we're working with to see if we can solve it. There are a lot of great use cases, so we're eager to get it. We in fact have a call set up, I think, with the product group next week because they want to address it. So that's the good news. You know, we're getting a lot of good support in trying to figure out how we can get it going.
That's awesome. Yeah, I would love to hear, and maybe I can send you a little sidebar about the product group meeting you have coming up. That would be interesting to participate potentially.
Okay.
Very cool. Yeah, we find that some of the discussions around bookings have gotten a little hotter lately because of the virtual appointment enhancements that are coming through as part of Teams Premium. So I think that that's driving this renewed curiosity in bookings, because with Microsoft 365, you know, bookings has been out there sitting on the shelf in these in agencies for a very long time. And so yeah, I think that it's almost going through a little bit of a renaissance. Is not really the right word, because it's not like people used it long ago and then sunset it. It's just that it's rising to awareness in a new way. And if you've ever worked in adoption, which I think a lot of you do across your agencies, you know that awareness, just knowing that something is there, is so key. So as these new features are rolling out, even the baseline, not paid add-on version has features that people were not aware of. And when they hear about an add-on that gives some added feature functionality, then it returns those basic functions to their awareness. And then they can find that even with what they already own, they can be successful in leveraging things in a new way for use cases that they might not have considered bookings for before. Bookings mobile app. Oh, to use the web on the mobile phone. Interesting. Okay. Yep, Timothy's referring to a message center post. Tim, I wonder if that message center post, here it is. Since I have the message center pulled up, we can look at that together. So let's see, as of yesterday, it looks like our there was an update to this one. So the mobile apps for booking won't be available in the Google Play Store or the App Play Store. And that's starting next Thursday. So what the Message Center post is suggesting is that you move to using it in the browser. Yep, you can access Booking's webpage. It's a nice little URL, https://book.ms through their mobile browser. Now that says from February 1st onwards. I haven't tried to access that in the mobile browser. I'm going to take a note personally to try that from my mobile. So yeah, all this good information comes from into the Message Center all the time. And like I mentioned before, that deck that's updated weekly is going to have that information for those of you who may not have access to the Message Center in your organization. That said, even if you have access to the Message Center in your organization, and that Message Center is the absolute source of truth, if you have access to that and you want a little bit of perhaps additional information or a link from whatever Message Center post could take you to the roadmap, sometimes you just prefer that different kind of presentation of the information. And so you can rest assured that this information that's updated weekly is grabbing that Message Center post and any complementary information that can be shared around these features. The link to the roadmap ID, like I discussed, is available here. So if you wanted to see more information about this particular feature, you also have access to, in one click, jump directly to that item in the roadmap, which I think is so helpful because both of these pieces, the roadmap and the Message Center posts that have to do with this particular feature, is going to have some key information. And this one is tagged for GCC. Hopefully you all, let me see a quick show of hands. If you are familiar with using this roadmap that I have displayed now to identify only GCC related features. Aha, yes. So at least 4 of you, 5 of you. Oh, this is great. So nearly half of you. Oh, I love it. That's awesome. Okay, you guys can put your hands down. I'm just going to do a 2-second overview since about half of you have this part covered. And I'm going to throw into the chat this link as well so that it's handy. But one of the things I love since the redesign of the roadmap, which gosh, must have been 18 months or a year ago now, is how easily it is filtered down to see just the information that I want to see. So being that I'm a customer success manager that has 99% of my customers in the government cloud, I rarely look at this with no filters at all, because the main thing I want to see is what my customers are going to be affected by, or what's going to connect to them. And so by filtering on the cloud instance filter here in the roadmap, I'm able to see only those messages that have a GCC tag applied to them. So once I apply that filter, then I can look across any product, any release phase, any platform, anything in the roadmap that has that GCC tag. And I can get the date timeline of when that feature might be released. And if I really want to get specific to Microsoft Teams, for instance, I can filter it even further and look at the Teams specific feature rollout plans that are in development, are actively rolling out, or already launched. And these all are going to have GCC tags. So that's a quick and easy way to make sure that, what's a nice way to put it? That you are targeting only what you soon to have in your own environment rather than looking at what might be available sooner to commercial, and setting your timeline expectations more appropriately in a government cloud tenant, which I presume the vast majority of you guys on our call today are in government cloud tenants. Anybody see any features in this top list that they're extra excited to have arrive? That's kind of a loaded question, I know. I'm looking forward to Loop components arriving in the GCC, and it looks like, fortunately, I don't have too terribly long yet to wait, and that's going to be quite exciting. I used Loop personally quite a bit in our own Microsoft tenant with my immediate team, and it does add a whole new level of collaboration and being able to connect to each other, and share information and share ideas and give comments to each other on the same thread. Do I know anything about live captions usability improvement? No, I don't know anything specifically about that. Is that one listed here as something that is coming out? This one, let's take a look.
I'm drilling down.
Yeah, let's take a look. The new caption settings pane. Better discovery and easier navigation. Okay, so users will have the ability to customize the size and color of their font. That is going to be excellent. And the height and position of the caption window with the option to scroll to review captions. Okay, so that one is also slated for May for GCC. And in fact, GCC High and DoD as well. So that's excellent. I love that the position of the caption window is something that's flexible and that the font changes are going to be available, because I think that is so important for readership. Yeah, Lori, I'd like that too. More than 2 lines would be great. So I wonder if perhaps with the height and position adjustment here, that will allow us to dictate that for our personal use. An accessibility panel, nice.
Do you know anything more about active speaker view in meetings?
Well, let's take a look at that one as well, and then I'll be happy to go back to Loop components, Rowan. The active speaker view in meetings, let's see, highlights the active speaker while still showing the rest of the participants in the meeting. So I think that this one pertains to, you know how, and maybe you can see it in our meeting today. I don't know, since my video is active, I'm probably quite highlighted on your screen right now. But let's say that I had my camera turned off. I wonder if the active speaker view would be sure to highlight with a ring or a square around my particular profile stamp in the meeting, so that it was clear that I was the one speaking. And it looks like if there were more cameras going, it would still be sure to highlight my camera feed with probably a square around that to indicate that I was the one speaking, even though multiple cameras were turned on. I'll have to tinker with that one in my Microsoft tenant and see if that works the way I think it would be working. Okay, I think Rowan's question about Loop components was coming in first. Let me see if I can fashion a demo fairly quickly here. And if not, then I will take a note and promise to demo that one at the next CUTE meeting to get you back next week. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to be able to demo this in a way that would be constructive. But imagine, I'll just give a use case, Rowan, of a way that that I have personally used it. And there will be many other use cases that would be applicable, but I'll just use one from a personal experience. So we use Loop components to create a table in a group chat. And in that table, we were able to, as each member of the group chat was grabbing the details of something that had to be completed, they could come and fill in their area of the table within the group chat and just scroll back up to that table where the information was collected in a loop fashion and re-edit that table as each member of the group needed to report in that information. So one user in a group chat created a table to collect information, and then everybody else in that group chat could come to that table and edit it, even though it was a previous post by one of the group members. So I know that that's an arbitrary kind of use case, but it really, it's something that's going to continue to be very flexible. It just gives that group editing of an item in chat, which is really helpful. Which is another plug for group chat. I know sometimes we talk about chat versus channel versus, all kinds of other ways to collaborate in teams, because they truly are endless. But group chat and Loop components, I think, are kind of a game changer. So I'm looking forward to being able to talk about those in detail in a future CUTE for Teams, perhaps in May, when we start seeing that rolling out to your government tenants. Oh, Lori, I missed your post about the rooms breakout shuffle. Okay, let's take a look at that one. So I've expanded that particular feature, and you can see meeting organizers can randomly reassign participants. Pardon me for the cough. I'm sorry, guys. So the random reassignment is what makes this so potent as a feature, because if you've ever had, oh, sorry, Lori, I bet my cough is probably making your dog go nuts too. So the meeting organizers being able to, oh, I see people outside. The meeting organizers being randomly able to reassign those participants is a wonderful feature if you have a bunch of people to manage in breakout rooms, and which room they end up in isn't necessarily a key thing. Like, you just want people to rotate around. Well, the shuffle's going to take care of that for you. And the list here can go on and on and on and on and on. So you guys are getting to see how I spend some time each week just coming out here and getting familiar, or trying to get familiar with these features and understand when they might be coming to our tenants. One of the exciting areas is the rolling out area, because that means if I don't have it yet, I probably will be having it show up in my customers very quickly, because it's in the process of rolling out across tenant to tenant to tenant. And there are quite a few of these in their rollout state. That's very exciting. And I love when those new features land. Ricardo and I geek out, in his words, regularly. Oh, Karen, I like that use case. All-day training events. Yes, that would be fantastic. This might be something that I don't know if any of you were on the call last week. We heard briefly from Glenn about a health day that they were having. And I know I'm not calling it what he called it, but a wellness day or something where they were going to have multiple vendors and they were trying to decide whether they do breakout rooms or separate meetings. And we talked about all the details around having the assets that come out of the meetings separately, and maybe that would be a good reason for doing it in separate meetings. But this shuffle, had it been there or been available, might have been a good reason to keep it in a single meeting with breakout rooms instead. So as these features arrive, it's going to change the way you answer some of the use cases that come up in your agencies. Of course, it would. And that's why we keep such a sharp eye on these and their release dates, because they really can change the way positively that you do business and have the outcomes in the meetings that you attend and the way you use Teams. So that's why we're here. So what do you think, guys? If there are no other questions, I'm not opposed to ending just a few minutes early and giving everybody some time back. I'm sure we'll have Ricardo back next week. And as you all will remember, we're closing in on our 100th episode. So stay tuned for that, of course. And I'm sure we'll have some sort of celebration for that when it gets here. I think this officially puts us in the 90 range, but I'll get confirmation from Ricardo for that. All right, guys. Well, we'll go ahead and end today. Thank you so much for joining. If you're new to CUTE, we are so glad you're here, and I'm sorry that you missed Ricardo today. And if you're a CUTE veteran, keep coming back so we can celebrate that 100th episode with Ricardo here soon. Thanks, everybody. Have a fantastic day.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe and check out the blog for more content.